Hey guys, Peter here to tell you about the latest from Worm, Necropalace, out February 13th on Century Media Records. The album has 7 tracks, 62 minutes in length, and this is the band's 4th full-length studio album. They are an American black metal band. Now, as far as the design goes, the best way to describe this record is imagine a live show. When you go see a band live, you want to have an experience that captures your attention from the start all the way to the end. Normally, live shows start with an intro track of sorts. This record starts with an intro track. Then, as the set develops, as the show develops, you always want to see ebbs and flows. You don't want too many songs that have the same vibe, the same tempo, the same feel, back to back. You definitely want to create movement within the set so that the listener's attention stays focused on what is happening, but at the same time allowing you to really enjoy the experience. That's exactly how this album is designed beyond that opening track. Then when you get to the closing song of any set, you want a song that has that exclamation mark, that puts that exclamation mark on the overall performance, that gives the viewer, the person attending the show, a sense of closure, finality to it, but also has those elements that really cement what the overall night was leading up to that point. The Witchmoon, which is the closing track on this record, has all of the above. The way it finishes, really closing the curtains on this record, the elements that it has, the presentation, the design of the song, everything about that track screams closing song. So I really like how they set up the album, and I really like that the setup of this record, like I said, mimics a live set, a live performance. I think it matches the band really well. It created a very versatile and a very entertaining experience for this record, and I think it makes the album shine really bright. Now, as far as the sound on this record is concerned, they are a very versatile band. They're not a band that just depends on one genre and one genre only. They have influences from black metal, symphonic black metal, death, doom, and all the above, if you will, or all mixtures of all of these genres put together. And this album really showcases that versatility and that mixture as far as influences are concerned. I think one thing that stays common throughout the entire album is the sense of darkness. This is a very dark feeling record. I would go as far as to say even sometimes somber. It has a sense of evilness to it at times. And when you're going through this record and you're reading the titles of the songs, they also created tracks that musically and even from an atmospheric standpoint really match the names that they have. So it allows you to visualize or create your own vision of what the song could be using the lyrical content, using the sound and the atmosphere, and looking at those title tracks. I always enjoy records like that because it gives me a sense of diving deeper into the songs. It gives me a sense of getting more out of the record, getting more out of the tracks, and this album definitely delivers that. It also delivers a great production behind it because I don't think you can mix all of these genres together. I mean, it's really tough to mix symphonic black metal with doom metal. I mean, the two feel worlds apart. But they do a wonderful job throughout the record mixing and matching styles and genres and sounds and experiences, because at the end of the day, that darkness is really the glue that holds it all together, allowing them to push the boundaries of tracks and push the boundaries of those influences as far as they can go, but always finding a common ground to come back to. So great production that allows that to happen. And I think the production not only has an impact on the sound, in my opinion, has an impact on the vocals, and therefore having an impact on the vocals has an impact on the overall record, and also a very deep impact on the atmosphere of the tracks. This is a very atmospheric album at times, and there's certain elements that really help to that. The vocals play a role for sure, but for example, the keys, the pianos, the organs on this record, the symphonic pieces of this album definitely shine and definitely add not just impact and size and a theatrical presence to the songs, but they also help really define how big the overall atmosphere of the tracks is. And when you're looking at the lyrics and you're looking at the titles of the songs, those symphonic pieces really help create that image that you can have for yourself of what the song means and what the song represents. I think that's an important aspect of this album that cannot be forgotten, because it allows them to change genres, to change ideas, to change directions, but the overall record always feels super balanced and connected at the exact same time. Now, when you look a little bit deeper, two elements I want to mention: guitars and drums. As far as the guitars are concerned, I love the guitar sound on this record because it's not uniform and it's not one-dimensional. There's a lot to be said about the guitars on this album. From the darkness of the riffs to how penetrating they are at times, the melody that this album has, some of the more technical aspects, the guitar solos are phenomenal throughout the entire record. If there are some bright spots within these songs that are filled with darkness, it's definitely the guitar solos. They definitely do that. But they also add elements to the atmosphere of the track itself. Adding some more technical pieces to the guitar playing allows them to change slightly the direction of the songs, or at the very least make the songs a lot richer and adding to the overall texture that the tracks are already delivering. So the guitar playing, while never going into a very super technical arena or never becoming even proggy, they do offer elements that are not necessarily common with doom, black metal, or even death metal. So I like the fact that the guitars take influences from these genres, but they also tend to go a little bit outside the box at times, more specifically so when it comes to the melodies and the solos. Now, the drums really help create a heavier presence as far as tracks are concerned. Some of the heaviness, some of the darkness, that atmosphere that builds from it definitely is helped by the drums. The size that they offer is really impactful, and I really like the thickness and the robust nature of sound that they have. They don't sound thin at all. They don't sound hollow at all. They have great bass sound to them. Once again, the production really helping on that end in order to elevate that quality. The other thing that the production elevates is the vocals. The main vocal performance really feels not distant from the sound, but really feels on top of it. I like the fact that the album does not use the sound to mask the vocals or to drown the vocals. The vocals are never drowned on this album. And it's very common to have that aspect of a record happening to you, especially if you're having more of the symphonic black metal influence. It's really important to have the vocals a little bit more in the forefront and not drawn out or completely covered by those sounds in those experiences. It's more common to see that on more traditional black metal records, and there are moments on this album where the vocals are not as powerful, not as much in the forefront, and when they're not, they become a bigger piece of the atmospheric puzzle of the songs. But normally and consistently, they're a little bit more forward, so they shine a little bit brighter and they command the attention of the listener a little bit more. I think it's a nice idea and definitely a great execution for this record because it allows the sound to be more versatile, more diverse, more influences coming in, and they all work really well because of where the vocals are sitting. All around, when I look at this record, this is an excellent album through and through. From the design, the approach, that live set list feeling, idea, vibe that they brought into the studio, the concept behind the titles of the songs, the lyrics, the sounds and the atmosphere that brings those titles and those lyrics to life. Everything about this album is a very interesting journey and experience to be had from top to bottom. I absolutely loved it. As far as favorite songs are concerned, I want to start off with Halls of Weeping. Amazing drum sound. This track has just really good drum sound all around. The guitars also sound phenomenal, and I felt like it's a track that really builds on the atmosphere. You can see the atmosphere not just building but growing, moving, developing, and that's an important aspect. The vocals merge really well at times with that fabric of that atmosphere, specifically when they're a little bit more atmospherically driven and not necessarily those vocals in the forefront. I think when they're in the forefront, they become more commanding. Using these two different styles on this track really adds to everything that you can offer. It adds to the atmospheric side on one hand, and it also adds to the more theatrical, cinematic on the other. So I think it's an important experience to have. It allows the song to feel more robust. It allows the song to feel more complete. Mixing in doom elements with symphonic black metal allows the track to have different moods, different times, different perspectives, so making the song feel a little bit more complete all around. And then adding some church organs really elevates not necessarily just the atmosphere of the song, but that creepiness, that somberness that the track has, that very defined darkness that is the common denominator throughout the entire record, is helped and it's pushed forward by those church organ style sounds. Then you have The Night Has Fangs. I also really love this song because, once again, it has a sinister atmosphere to it that matches the title of the track, that matches the lyrics of the song. It starts off very methodical. It moves in methodically musically and methodically vocally, but then it builds. The experience grows, the sound moves faster, the song starts to develop at a different pace. The guitar solos are excellent. So it's a track that starts off slow, it simmers in, but then it starts to gradually become more impactful all around, vocally, musically, adding some technical elements to the guitars, add the palette, if you will, of sounds and textures and experiences that the song puts together, creating some really interesting contrasts between the dark traditional black metal sound and then the more fast-moving, driven experience. It's a track that mixes in doom elements really well with black metal elements, tries to find the common ground between the two, and then also exposes the uniquenesses that both have. Everything happening in a single song. Last but definitely not least, Dragon Dreams. This is a track that feels incredibly theatrical. From the opening sequence all the way through, it just feels like a theatrical piece, more so than anything else. I love the guitar sound, super dark. It has great atmosphere overall, the song. It has this atmosphere blanket that just covers the track. The vocals jump out. The vocals really feel isolated on their own, which allows them to be creepier, darker, more impactful. The guitars have great sound, great life, great energy, great texture. It's a very overall symphonic, atmospheric driven sound, and that symphonic, atmospheric driven sound really blankets, covers the entire song. Everything else that you see on this track is what's peeking through that haze, because that haze really cements the track, really covers the track, really overpowers the track. The only thing that kind of jumps out of it immediately is the vocals, but outside of that is a song that's really suffocated by it, and that's what brings the aroma. That's what brings that sense of a dream, because there's this haze, this feeling of haze always surrounding you when you're listening to this song, surrounds the song itself. This is it. Worm with Necropalace, once again out February 13th on Century Media Records. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles. Hit me up in the comment section. I'll see you all at the next one. Take care, guys.